Hey, everybody. This is going to be a little bit of an experiment. 4 years ago, I started a podcast for Thinking Founders. Since interviewed, exactly 898 people, mostly founders, some investors. But the thing with Forward Thinking Founders is that I don't do much talking. In the beginning, I started to do a lot of talking. Every time a founder had something to say, I always had two things to say about it. And then maybe like 200 episodes, and I'm just like, I'm gonna shut my app and let the founders talk. But I've gotten some feedback that people wish I talked more or shared some more of my opinions in a non-written format. So this is my experiment to see if I'm gonna like doing that. So we're calling this Early Bird. I'll probably change the name, but maybe we won't. But I hope you enjoy. We're just gonna get into super tactical business here. Right now, we're in the middle of a total tech winter. And I recently discovered some tools to allow me to see what companies were doing okay versus what companies were completely tanking, regardless of, or irregardless, if that's a word, of their fundraising. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to use these tools so you can check in on potential companies you might want to work with, potential portfolio companies, companies that you're interested in, so you actually know who is doing well versus who is not versus what they're all saying, because generally it's quite often the opposite from what you might think. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen and let's get into it. All right, so right now we're in a tool called SEMrush. If you are in startups or you work as an operator in a startup, you may have heard of this. If you're an investor or someone from finance, maybe you haven't. But this is a tool that helps any company with their SEO. Now, you might be wondering, Matt, I don't care about SEO. We live in an AI-driven world. That doesn't matter to me. And I largely agree with you. But there are a lot of things that are really important about SEMrush for your own tracking of the future to understand what's going to be relevant and what isn't going to be relevant, specifically related to the companies that you think are doing well today. Okay, one of the great things about SEMrush is you can do searches on different companies and get an idea for where that company is without that company telling you. They could say, we've raised $100 million, but how is the company actually doing? So how are they performing? How is their growth? If it's not going well, they're not going to tell you. But the good thing about SEMrush is they can't stop you from searching their company. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna show you how to use SEMrush to evaluate other companies, maybe to evaluate your own portfolio companies, to just give you a data point on how to think about who's going to be relevant in 10 years versus who might be irrelevant maybe in a year or two. So we'll start with my own company, just as an example. So I run seedscout.com. So we're going to type seedscout.com in the, 1 second, getting a call, but we're just going to pause that. It's a spam call from Las Vegas. Maybe it's the casinos. We're going to type seedscout.com. We're going to search, and then a lot happens here. So you'll see naturally we flip over to the domain overview. So right now what we're looking at is a domain overview of seedscout.com. Now there's a few things to look at here. We have an authority score, we have organic search traffic, we have backlinks, and there's a lot more going on, but we actually just want to focus on the authority score and these two graphs. So as we can see here, SeedScout does not get that much traffic, which makes sense. We spend zero money on marketing. It's just me banging the drum online all day, right? So of course, we don't get thousands of hits. But what is important about this graph is you see that it has gone up and it continues to go up. There's no momentum decline at any point, although the number isn't large, and I'm not afraid to share this, right? It's my own company. You could search this on your own if you wanted to. What's important is that relative to its prior momentum, it hasn't slowed down, which is really exciting. If we look at this, we can see our organic keywords, which is a little less important than organic traffic, but essentially it means how many keywords are ranking on Google over time. If this is going up, it means we're becoming more relevant on Google over time. Then lastly, we can see our authority score. Authority score means how important is the seedscout.com domain compared to all the other domains. Generally, the score is in between 0 and 100. And if you just started a website, you would be at 0. And if you are, Facebook, it would probably be at 100. Ours is at 19. So what does this mean in a vacuum? I don't really know. We have to compare it to other companies in order to know what this means. But this is the value of SEMrush. Okay, what you care about is the authority score. What you care about is the organic traffic. What you care about is the organic keywords, a little less about the keywords. The last thing I want to go into is the backlinks, because that's what creates an authority score. A backlink essentially is in another website on the internet that backlinks, that links, hyperlinks on their website back to my website. So you might see this and you're like, wow, you 3.9 thousand backlinks. That's so impressive. In reality, this isn't that impressive. What's more impressive is referring domains, which means out of 397 domains, that is creating about 4,000 backlinks for us. Okay, I'm not going to go too deep into this because this isn't an SEO video. It's more of a way to do competitive research or research on your portfolio companies, but we'll go more into that later. Okay, so great, that's Seed Scout. Now, what do we do with this information? Is it 19 low? Is it high? Is this momentum drop, bad? Is it good? Well, let's look up one of our competitors, and this obviously they've been struggling, so this will be kind of an obvious search. But I just want to give a contrary viewpoint on what a different type of data set looks like. So let's look up. I think they might have shut down by now, but it'll show you what a different data set looks like. Let's look at Launch House, launchhouse.com. We look up launchhouse.com. We click enter. What do we see? Okay. We see their authority score is much higher, right? So their authority score is 30. It's 10, it's 11 higher than ours, which means they have more of a presence on the internet. But if we look at the all-time traffic graph, this is really interesting data. We can see that it was really low for a while, and then in January of 2022, it really boosted. Maybe that was during the controversy. Maybe they were doing an ad. Then it went all the way down, then all the way up, then all the way down. So this is natural for a startup. Startups have their ebbs and flows, but there isn't a momentum thing going on here. Additionally, if we look at the keywords that they rank for, there isn't a beautiful up and to the right graph. It's just a little, I don't know, jagged, whatever the word you would use. So you take this information and then you apply it against the authority score. And if I was looking at this as an investor or as someone who is trying to evaluate a company, I would say this is a company that has a good presence on the internet with no momentum. Now you have to ask yourself, what would you prefer? Would you prefer a company with no presence on the internet, with or little presence on the internet with good momentum, or a company with a heavy presence on the internet with no momentum? At the end of the day, that's your decision to make. I'm just here showing the data. Now I'm going to share one more competitor, which is going to be really interesting data, which is called intro.co. I think it's intro.co. This is a company that recently raised $10 million from Andreessen Horowitz and 776. They're running ads all day on Twitter, and they are clearly top of mind for a lot of people. So let's see how they're actually doing on SEMrush. So let's click intro.co. Let's see how they're doing. All right. So we can see that they have an authority score of 33. So they have more authority than Launch House, which is great. We can see they have a lot of backlinks, maybe too many. That's a weird ratio, but we'll deal with that later. Then we can see their traffic graph. Now, this is a little skewed because something that happened there, which I believe wasn't even the current team that was doing intros. So what we're going to do is go from all time to maybe 2 years. So we get the more recent data. So, okay. So this is interesting data. We can see that the traffic is, going up, going down, going up, going down. It's consistent for a startup. But we see this orange line. We see this orange line, and we see that's paid traffic. That's traffic that they pay for. And we can see since February 2023, they've been paying for more traffic than they have earned. And actually, when they've paid for traffic, their organic traffic has gone down. Now, what does this mean? It really depends. It's up to your interpretation on what this means for your evaluation. If I was looking at this, I think it would be promising. They're experimenting with ads. Maybe they're experimenting too much with ads. Maybe they have to build more of an organic presence, but obviously there's traffic there. We would like their authority score. They've done good work there. We see their organic keywords are growing nicely, right? So that's impressive. So if I'm looking at this, I would say this is interesting. I think it's trending in the right direction. It makes sense they raised $10 million from top firms, but these are the data points that you're going to look at. There's momentum here organically, then it kind of stalls. You can see the momentum for paid is going up. Does that mean they're going to spend more time on paid versus organic? Is that healthy in this environment? Who knows? Like, I don't know, right? That's a VC to decide. So that is how to use SEMrush to do competitive analysis or looking at your portfolio to make sure they're doing okay, or to kind of get more data on them. The website is semrush.com. You can make a free account. I'm not an affiliate, so you just make a free. Maybe one day I will be to make a little extra money while I'm getting Seed Scout off the ground. But right now I'm not. So you can look at SEMrush. You can look at any company you want, and you can get access to this same data. If you find this valuable, please like, and please comment, and please share. This is the first episode I'm doing of Early Bird, and I'm hoping that it's valuable to the people listening and watching. And if you do think it's valuable, let me know what else you want to see, because I do this kind of stuff all day. Okay, so hope that's helpful. Thanks for watching. So that's one of many ways that's one tool that I use to evaluate companies, to give me one of many data points. When I evaluate companies, I look at a lot of different data points online, and that's a big one. But there's plenty of others. And if you keep watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, you will learn kind of how I think about scouting and filtering and evaluating companies. And you'll find that the way that I look at companies has nothing to do with the background, if someone went to school, where someone worked. In fact, I don't even know this information when I ask them to come on to Forward Thinking Founders. So you keep listening to Early Bird, keep watching Early Bird, and I think that you'll find that you will naturally become a better investor. And even if you're not an investor, you'll find you'll be a better predictor of the future, because you'll be given tools that have not been brought to light historically, that allow you to kind of spot signals that lead to the future before other people. And at the end of the day, that is where alpha is. That is where people make their money. Can you predict the future before other people know about it? Can you be contrarian and right? The way that I think about things, in my humble opinion, can help you do that in a more efficient way. So keep watching Early Bird, subscribe to Seed Scout YouTube channel so you get these notifications, and I'll see you at the next video. Thanks for watching.